Here we go in three, two, one.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. That's Austin. I'm Blake. And unfortunately, today we're here to discuss the loss of our Tennessee Vols to the Georgia Bulldogs this past weekend. Um, it's unfortunately, it looked like it was going to be a game in the first half. Looked like it was going to be a good game for us in the first half, and then the wheels fell apart, and it is not the result that we wanted. What was your kind of initial gut, other than despair and and being sad and upset? What was your initial gut reaction to the game, Stan?
Yeah, I mean, mostly that. Sad, despair. It's just unfortunate. Like, the vibes were at an all time high at Dakota's house this weekend when we were up 10-0. I mean, we just came out hotter than really the best possible start we could have had. Defense held them to three and out. Offense goes down, scores with ease. I mean, honestly, it was something that we haven't really seen this team do this year. That's why it was so encouraging. It's like the offense is off to a hot start. Um, and like you said, man, in the second half, the wheels just kind of fell off. So many missed opportunities in the second half. Questionable officiating that people have been talking about. I'm kind of definitely in more of the camp. It's like, okay, officiating was definitely a factor, but it was also we just didn't play our best ball at the end of the day. We really didn't. Defense had by far its worst game. I mean, we said coming into the game, dude, it's like it would make no sense for Carson Beck to play his best game against us. It would just logically. I mean, if you look at both the teams, you see that Tennessee's defense has been really good, especially against the pass, and Carson Beck has been really bad. But somehow, some way, the football gods said, no, no, no. Carson Beck is going to play like a future Hall of Famer against Tennessee, make every throw, not make a single mistake. Part of that was us just not putting him in a position to make a mistake. The pass rush was non existent. But yeah, man, I mean, overview was, yeah, questionable officiating. We didn't play our best ball, but the worst part about that game was the commentators. I can't. At this point, I'm going to start listening to games on mute. Chris Fowler, whenever he calls a Tennessee game, he might as well have the opposing jersey on. Like, Herbstreit doesn't like Tennessee, and that's well documented. But it's not. At least he's not as biased as Chris Fowler. Chris Fowler cannot stand the University of Tennessee. That guy's a complete idiot. Okay, I'm just gonna put it like that. Complete idiot. Completely biased. Should not be calling games. Just doesn't call it straight at all. That's my main takeaway, to be honest, is the commentators suck.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you there. That's a trend that we have as Tennessee Vols fans. I think it's just in general the media. It's pretty well documented, right? The media doesn't like us. Again, I think I think I've said before on the podcast. It's I think it's a result of the fact that they don't like that Tennessee fans have power, um, and are vocal. Um, and I think the media thinks that they are supposed to be the only ones with power and say in the sports world, and so I don't know. It's whatever. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's so. I think that's one of the things that frustrated me the most was the Carson Beck situation. Right, he's been playing like trash. Now, granted, they've been on the road a lot in the past few weeks. Haven't been playing at home, but I mean, man, 25 of 40 for 347 yards, two TDs. I mean, what? He just comes out, plays like that, and like you said, the most frustrating portion of the performance for me, other than of course the offense completely sputtering in the second half, was this defense, just not getting any pressure on the
None.
quarterback. It's
None.
and it's like, of course he's not going to make any mistakes when you don't put him in a position to make those mistakes. You have to force mistakes. This is SEC football. These people, despite the fact that Carson Beck's not been playing well, he's still a quarterback at an SEC school for a reason, right? You have to force those mistakes. We didn't force those mistakes, and and again, like you noted, the second half, just rough, man. Just not being able to generate any offense, and so from here, there's, I don't know. I mean, do you do you feel like there was one group in particular, whether it's offense or defense or a position group that kind of, I don't want to say holds most of the blame, but do you feel like there was one thing in particular that kind of made this game go the way it did?
Yeah, if I had to pinpoint on one thing, it's the trenches, dude. We showed that all year long. Every week, even in the Arkansas week, we were the better team in the trenches. We were better than Alabama in the trenches. We are better than every team we've played this year in the trenches, except for Georgia. We were not better than Georgia in the trenches. It was pretty clear from the jump. We couldn't get pushed in the run game. If we didn't have Dylan Sampson, one of the best running backs in the NFL, or not in the NFL, in college football, I thought of the NFL because Mel Kiper doesn't have him in his top 10. And as far as draft prospects, what an idiot. Mel Kiper, you need to retire. You're an idiot, Mel Kiper. But anyway, of course he's in the top 10. Without DeSamp, this offense wouldn't have done jack shit in the run game, dude. He was the only reason we got anything going in the run game on Saturday. I mean, he was getting hit in the backfield and turning it into 3 or 4 yard gains. Offensive line was terrible. I mean, it was awful. Lance Hurd, people were hyping up Lance Hurd. He was back and he was getting better because he has only given up 2 pressures in the last 2 weeks. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't know. I wasn't convinced as other people. His pass blocking had definitely been better, but he was horrendous in this game. He had a PFF grade in the 30s again. He's once again back to being one of the worst 2 tackles in college football. No reason to play him at this point. I've said on multiple occasions now that the only reason they're playing him is because they're paying him, and that's a problem. If you feel like you have to play a guy's because you paid him so much in NIL, don't pay him that in NIL. Because if the guy is not good enough to play, he shouldn't be playing, and Lance Hurd should not be playing. And on the D line, dude, you brought it up. I mentioned it already as well. There was no pass rush, dude. We got no pressure on Carson Beck. And if any quarterback's going to dot you up when you have no pressure on him. But that's really why Carson Beck has been struggling, is because Georgia's offensive line has been struggling. And they haven't been able to pass protect well. And we expected, we've gotten pressure on everybody. We've gotten pressure on everyone this season. It would make no sense why we couldn't get pressure in this game, but we didn't. We didn't get pressure. And yeah, we were held a couple times, but we're held every game. They don't call it. The refs don't like Tennessee either. And there were some bad calls. I mean, the more I look at it too, the worse it gets as far as the officials go. Like the more I see on Twitter, I'm like, wow, this really was a poorly officiated game. But at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to like your analogy for the playoffs. Leave no doubt. That was kind of like this game. If you know you're going down to Athens and you have the officials against you, you got to leave no doubt. You have to just go out there and be better, and we weren't better. So it's tough, but that's reality. We're not better than Georgia yet, dude.
Yeah, and that it's tough not to be impatient, and I almost wonder if it's at this point maybe not. I don't even know if I would call it impatient, right? Heupel's been here a few years. He's got his guys in place, and now this year was the year, right, with this defense and this offense. The weapons that we have on offense shouldn't be having the problems that it's having, and so it's tough, that we are still not competitive with. Now, granted, yes, it was at home for the, it was in Athens for them. I get all that. They're still an incredibly talented football team, right? They're oozing with talent, and they've got a great coach. So it's I'm not sitting here saying that we should be, you know, should have been able to just blow them out of the water, and that we should be a better program at this point. But I feel as though we should be, now was the time to show that we're competitive with Georgia again.
I think we were
And
competitive for the most part in that game, but I get what you're saying. I mean, at some point you got to go take it. You got to go prove you can beat an elite football team, and we didn't. I mean, that's the reality. And a lot of people are comparing Heupel to Mark Rick, and I think to a certain extent that's a little unfair, but I understand the comparison. I understand why Vols fans like us are impatient. I get it. Like, we want to be on the top right now, and we felt like, to your point, this was the year to do it. I've been saying that for a while now, that this defense is not getting better next year. They're going to get worse, and that's just the reality. They're not going to be as good as they were this year, and it's unfortunate. And we're losing a lot of weapons. Like, there's a lot of reasons why this was the season, and and it didn't happen. Now, I think I would say that even though the Georgia loss hurts right now, that what we really need to be pissed about is the Arkansas game. That's the game. If you don't drop that game, you're in the SEC championship. It's going to be, dude. I don't care with how much more talent Georgia has as far as their talent composite, all the 5 stars on the team. Dropping one in Athens, that's, you have to like understand that's going to be a real possibility every time we go down there. Now, if it was at home, who knows? This year it could have been different at home, but going down there, it's probably going to be lost. The problem is when you drop a Week 5 game to Arkansas, who you're better than, who, if you play the game, you should win 80 to 90% of the time. That's the problem. That's the real issue. It's just like 2022. It's exactly like 2022. Nobody blames you for dropping one in Athens. Okay, it's fine. They are a very talented team. Okay, we know they're better than their record. They have one of the hardest schedules in the country, and it's amazing that they only have 2 losses. Okay, we understand how good Georgia is. The problem is losing to South Carolina, who you're better than in 2022, or losing to Arkansas this season. Because, I mean, the what ifs are, first of all, we're gonna tomorrow, I believe we're gonna do a playoff breakdown show, go through some scenarios and stuff, and go through all that together and get a live reaction to the playoff rankings. Well, it's very obvious right now that it's not clear that we're definitely going to be in the playoff. But if you beat Arkansas, it's a lock. You're a lock to be in the playoffs. You're going to the SEC championship. You have a potential. Listen, on a neutral field, I still believe this team could beat Texas. I really do believe that, on a neutral field. And you had the opportunity to do that, but since you lost to Week 5 in Arkansas, you don't now. And that's where the frustration comes for me, because it's like, dude, I don't know, man. It's frustrating to think back on that loss and think what could have been this season. Because again, it's just going to always be tough to go down to Athens and win. So
definitely is. That's a given when you're going anywhere on the road in the SEC, including Arkansas, including in Fayetteville. But obviously, there's a huge talent gap between Arkansas and Georgia, and so you got to pick that game up in Fayetteville. And the question mark continues with Heupel's road performance, right? Being able to perform on the road. So, yeah, that's hugely frustrating. Is the what could have been. Just like with 2022, obviously, in hindsight, obviously we go into that South Carolina game and we're not thinking much of it, and it's like, um, and so with that, it's like, hey, you knew your destiny was out in front of you and you dropped it. Whereas Arkansas, it was still early on in the season, but yeah, the fact of the matter is it eliminates those question marks that we have now, and it's tough, man. It's the AP rankings have come out, the playoff rankings haven't come out yet, but it's tough seeing Alabama in front of us again, right? When we beat them this year, and it's just I wish this team would live up to its potential, just like the 2022 team, and I think 2022 is a little different than this year, for sure. But this team just seems to be on that cusp, right? Of like, putting that full game together. And it's just like right there on the edge of just putting a full game together. And if a full game got put together with a defense is firing on all cylinders and the offense is actually clicking and you play like that for 4 quarters, this team could literally beat anyone in the country. Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, this team could be anyone in the country if we were to put 4 quarters together, and it's just for whatever reason we just can't seem to put 4 quarters together.
No, yeah, we can. It's a good point, dude. I mean, it does feel like we're right there. I mean, we're definitely. I mean, yeah, we're top 10 in the AP poll, but and we'll again, the playoff show tomorrow is going to be interesting. We'll break down why that doesn't matter. Like, we'll probably be top 10 in the playoff poll as well. The problem is that it's all those stupid automatic bids. God, I'm probably gonna rip into the NCAA tomorrow. It's a joke, man. But anyway, yeah, it's just tough, man. It's tough. You just couldn't get over this Georgia hump, and it's very unfortunate. Just to touch on a couple more things from the game, I thought Nico played okay. I thought Nico wasn't his best, but I mean, considering the circumstances, his receivers continue to let him down. Like, even Dante Thornton has a drop now. I'll give him a pass. He was banged up, so maybe that affected his play. But of course, right when I'm tweeting about how he has 0 drops, he has his first drop, and it was a crucial drop. And I also thought Nico's coach didn't put him in the best positions all the time, man. I mean, I think Heupel has revived the dead program, and I'm by definitely not calling for Heupel's job. That's not it. It's just I don't think he had his best game coaching. I think he got out coached. I thought some of the fourth down decisions were just a crucial mistakes, man. I don't love talking about play calling because I'm not qualified to talk about play calling, but I will talk about fourth down decisions. I know when a fourth down decision is stupid. When you have the ball for like 13 minutes or whatever, 11 minutes on a drive or whatever that crazy drive was in the second half, you get down to the Georgia 36 and you take a delay of game and punt. Give me a damn break, dude. That is a mistake. I don't care if Heupel is a head coach and I'm just some schmo with a podcast. That is a mistake. Period. Point blank. It's 4th and 6. Okay, whatever you do in that situation, you do not punt. Give Max Gilbert a shot. He just had a 52-yard field goal. I know it wasn't from the best hash. Give him a shot. I would rather do that than punt. You never punt in that situation. And Georgia goes down and scores on that drive. It's just like, don't punt there. That's my only thing. Go for it. Keep the ball in the hands of your quarterback. Let him try to make a play. He's been so clutch in those moments. He had another clutch scramble in a similar moment against Georgia. Let him go do something. Like, that's my biggest frustration, man. Because if the offense gets something on that drive, the whole complexion of the game changes. It's a 2 touchdown victory for Georgia, but we know it was a 1 touchdown game. We had the ball with 4 minutes left in the damn game. Like, it was a winnable game. It was right there. We just couldn't like you said get over that hump. And so I mean, I don't think Heupel trusted Nico enough. I think at some point when Sampson's getting hit in the backfield every play and we just can't get the running game going, you have to let Nico try to make a play. You have to. You have to trust him at some point when the offense is completely stagnant. And I get Heupel has been so reliant on this defense this season, but you got to read the room, man. The defense wasn't playing well. The defense was not playing well yesterday or Saturday. So, just a couple decisions on fourth down and a couple, again, I don't like talking about play calling, but just more aggression I think was probably needed. It's just unfortunate, man. But I mean, again, I think he got outcoached by Kirby, so sucks.
Yeah, you wonder if you revert back to the 2022 kind of scheme, where if your defense is not playing well, then do you start, pushing the offense, like you said, trusting more in your quarterback and just letting him sling it and try to make some plays, and just really try to open it up for your offense. If your defense isn't getting the job done, we know we're capable of that. And so what is the you know what yeah, I'm also not qualified enough to know where that disconnect is, but there is some sort of disconnect when it comes to um, the offense being able to kind of just move the ball at will, like like what you did back in 2022. So um, yeah, a lot of different things coming from this game, kind of all over the place between the offense, the defense, the coaching, just kind of again all over the place. A lot of different question marks, and so moving forward through the rest of the season, we got to get through UTEP, no injuries, and then we got to go over to Nashville and play Vanderbilt and beat Vanderbilt, who's a very decent football team. I think they might end up in the top 25 before the season's over. Um, and or rather, they've kind of been in and out of the top 25 once or twice, and so I think they might end up, I should say, at the end of the season in the top 25. Good football team, and so we gotta fix these mistakes and and then just pray that we get into the playoffs. And like you said, we're gonna do a show specifically for the playoff or the playoffs and the scenarios from the playoff. The rankings will be released. Now, are we going to do a live show, or is it going to
We could
be
do live. Probably. I don't know if we'll have the capability to do
just
live.
a
I'll
live
see.
reaction?
Yeah, live reaction.
Live reaction, and then post it later. That sounds like a good plan. So y'all, be sure to look out for that. I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to say, if you haven't already, like and comment on the video. That'll help us out, help out the algorithm. But go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, so that when we drop that episode for the playoff reaction, y'all be notified. And we're going to go over playoff scenarios. And so we won't spend much time talking about that here on this Georgia review. But man, it definitely we said in the preview game for Georgia that it's win and you're in, and lose, and suddenly we are on the
Question mark.
outside looking in. We're on the outside looking in, like you said, because these automatic bids and because of these other teams, the positions that they're in, and so it's and unfortunately, at this point, with everyone else's schedule, right? With Alabama's schedule, Ole Miss's schedule, Georgia's schedule, unless something crazy happens, it looks like they're going to win out, and they're all going to stay, or whatever happens, they're all going to stay ahead of us, right? And so it's like, bottom line is coming out of this Georgia game, we've got to figure out again how to put those four quarters together and not get out coached and not get beat in the trenches, so that we can get in the playoffs and then hopefully have a shot in the playoffs. So
Yeah, I mean the AP poll is a joke, man. I mean they listen. Having Alabama ahead of us, whatever. I accept it at this point. But how the hell is Georgia ahead of Ole Miss? What?
yeah,
They played 2 weeks ago and lost by 18 points.
got beat. Yeah,
What? I it's just completely confusing. It made no sense to me, but whatever. We basically have to root against all these teams at this point. We have to root for carnage, and I mean, yeah, and we'll break it all down tomorrow, but basically got to root against everybody.
yeah,
And so, yeah, gonna have to start rooting for some teams we don't like Florida. They Ole Miss goes down to Florida. And dude, that's another funny thing. It's like if Florida didn't have one of the hardest schedules ever, they would have so much better record, and our win over them would look so much better. But because Florida's not a bad football team, they really aren't, dude. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate. This game sucks. It sucks that we're in this position now where we need other things to happen. But that's where we're at, dude. That's where we're at. Still, I mean, it's still been a fun season. It's still, we beat Alabama and stuff, and it's looking like you say, if we can beat Vanderbilt and Nashville, we'll get to 10 wins. But I don't know where that will take us, man. It might take us to the Outback Bowl.
Yeah. Which is gonna sting to once again
Bad.
come through a season where we're just right there on the cusp, right? So yeah, I mean, and we'll talk more in depth about this on the playoff scenario show, but it's like, yeah, we're rooting for Florida against Ole Miss. Some people say that we need to root for Ohio State to have a blowout against Indiana. I'll be honest, I
I'm
don't
one of
know if
those
that's gonna.
people. I think
I
it
don't
will
know if
matter. I think it
I
will
don't know if
matter.
it'll matter. We'll
Uh,
see. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it
we'll,
will.
we'll, de-
I
we'll,
mean,
we'll debate all that tomorrow. We also
we'll
need
debate
to
all that.
root for USC. Notre Dame's going to USC. That's a losable game. I'm just saying. That's one I've got
And Army.
circled. And
Notre
Army.
Dame
Army.
and Notre
Seriously,
Dame's playing
Army's
Army.
been playing well. Army's been
Yeah.
playing well. I mean, I just think, honestly, Notre Dame, those two games, those are easily games where they could slip up. And I got the Irish circle because that's a team that I think the playoff committee is not as bullish on. I really don't think they. I mean, they're in there because they're Notre Dame and whatever, but I think with 2 losses, Notre Dame's out. So that's a team in particular. If you're a Notre Dame fan, sorry. We ain't room for Notre. We ain't Irish fans around here anymore. They gotta lose, dude. They gotta lose so we can get in.
Get him out of here. We need as much help as possible because again, at this point, I feel as though we're on the outside looking in. That's just the
Correct.
reality of the matter. It's just where we're at. But like we said, we'll get into all that on the playoff show. Austin, any final thoughts on the Georgia game?
No. If you made it this far, you're a dedicated fan. We appreciate y'all watching. It hurts. I know a lot of people may not be watching this episode because it hurts. We didn't want to do this episode. That's why we're a day late. But we got it done. Tough loss, man. We fought hard, but it just wasn't enough. And my lasting word is screw the commentating team. Screw you, Chris Fowler. You're an absolute joke. I cannot wait until you retire. I've never liked you to begin with, but you have rooted against us every single damn game you do this season. And I don't know if it's because the power thing, like you said. I think it's more he's a West Coast guy. He went to Colorado. I think he hates that he has to go down to the South every other weekend to do a Tennessee game. Screw you, Chris Fowler. You're a complete idiot, dude. And also, F the officials for trying to, not give us any chance in that game. That's my lasting words. F Chris Fowler and F the officials.
Yeah, Tennessee fans understand these other fan bases. They don't quite get it, but Tennessee fans understand that a lot of times it's us versus the world. And I think it probably started with the Lane Kiffin debacle after he left, and we were burning mattresses in the street, and then all the way up through blocking the Schiano hire, and just I think
it was before
Twitter.
It was before that, dude. In the '90s, Herb Street called us trailer trash.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think you're right in terms of like these coastal elites, right, or your elitists from Ohio State, like Herb Street and all this, and it's like and I guess I'm talking about these kind of modern commentators and the media especially really hate that Tennessee's fan base is the way it is, so passionate, but really again we know that the bias has been there for decades.
100%.
When the I don't even remember his name, but the guy from Notre Dame that wins the Heisman over Johnny Majors, when he had absolutely the stats were not even close, and this guy and Notre Dame went like 2-8 or something that season, and he still wins the Heisman. It's just
it's bad, man. Also, oh sorry, go ahead.
No, go for him.
I was just going to say another thing from the game I forgot to mention as far as the biased commentary. We were joking about this at Dakota's house. It seemed like the rules guy, every time they bring the rules guy in, he's literally just there to defend Georgia's side of it. Like he's literally just there to say, "Oh no, whatever. This is why Georgia should get this call." Like every single time, it was 100% of the time. And we joked at some point they're gonna pan to that guy, and he's just in the Georgia student section with the Georgia like shoulder pads and everything. He's all painted out. He's just completely decked out in Georgia gear. That's what it felt like, dude. They literally felt like they had a guy in the Georgia student section on this broadcast giving rules analysis, because a lot of the crap he said is just completely wrong. I mean, he's just factually incorrect. I watch football every weekend for like 12 hours plus a weekend, and a lot of what he said was just incorrect. Like on the face mask call and things like that. Doesn't matter. They were all rooting for Georgia. They're all a bunch of crooks and frauds, and so F that guy too.
And part of it too is, you got to think it's like the media. How does the media make their money? How do they even have jobs, right? It's from ratings, it's from viewers. And so it helps their viewership when teams who are doing well, there's a bunch of bandwagon Georgia fans right now. Georgia's been doing well the past few years. And
Wow.
so, man, they want them in the playoffs because that's going to help their ratings, right? Same with Alabama. I mean, people wonder why the media has an Alabama bias. It's because Alabama pays their salary via increased viewership. It's just, there's some anyway. We could go on and on. This episode is not going to be a dog on the media, but at the same time, it is because
Oh, it's
f the media,
always, it's always a dog on the media.
always f the media and f the officials. Um, so yeah, like you said, not the outcome that we wanted. Sucks, and we are a day late. Honestly, we needed a day to heal. We figured everyone else did too. So we gave y'all a little extra day before you saw this notification for this episode and had to get upset about it because I know I would when I saw it. So. We're gonna do the playoff episode. That's gonna drop the next day on Wednesday. Austin, is that right? We're gonna drop
Something
that
like
on
that.
Wednesday morning.
Maybe we trickle it out Tuesday night. We'll see. Probably
Maybe,
Wednesday
maybe,
morning though.
maybe trickle it out. We'll see. But definitely, again, tune in for that. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. With that being said, we kind of are taking it's a huge gamble, Austin. Right? We're really gambling here, but we're assuming that people are going to be more interested in playoff scenarios and live reaction to the
Then a
playoff
UTEP
rankings
preview.
than a UTEP preview.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe like briefly talk about UTEP and say like, hey,
Beat them.
please don't get hurt and please win.
Yeah.
But we're gonna just assume at this point that everyone's more interested in the playoffs. So we're gonna do that. We can't wait to do that with y'all. Dakota is gonna join us again for that. Is that right, Austin? So
Yep.
we're gonna have Dakota in as well. So that should be a good time. The first triple head action there in terms of the podcast. So we're looking forward to that, and we look forward to y'all joining us for that. But otherwise, again, this one sucks. Tennessee Volunteers fall to the Georgia Bulldogs 31-17, and so from here on out, we got to win, and let's hope we get in the playoffs. So we'll look forward to seeing y'all at the playoff scenarios episode. We hope y'all have a good time with that, and we'll talk to y'all later.
GBO.